As someone that grew up in Anambra State, went to a very prestigious secondary school, which is also a missionary school, and also went to a very good primary school, and even went to the University of Nigeria and Nsukka. We were not given the opportunity to learn about our history. Nationalists. Let's go in depth about their stories, their achievements, the policies that they made while they were in government. We were not given these opportunities. Now, as grown as I am, it takes me effort, and should I say sometimes privilege, to study these things myself and to learn about them. So join me, let's explore the achievements of Dr. Michael Okpara and how his achievements were destroyed by the Nigerian Biafra War. Chief Dr. Michael Okpara was born in the year 1920 to 1984. And as at that point, he was known as the Emir of the Eastern region. That's from 1959 to 1966. 1966 because of the famous coup that led to the Civil War. Nigeria, as at that point, was divided within 3 regions. We have the Eastern region, we have the Northern region, and we also have the Southern region. Each of these regions were headed by an individual known as the Premier. Then we were not divided within states. Rather, we were only divided within our regions. During the administration of Dr. Michael Okpara as the Premier of the Eastern region, he was focused on the economic self-reliance of the Eastern region. All the politics, all the policies that he made was all gathered towards one thing: making sure that the Eastern region is self-sustaining economically. So he used major developments that would boost and develop the Eastern region. And all these efforts were destroyed by the Nigerian Civil War, which began in 1967 and ended in 1970. Now, after the war had ended, you would ask, why didn't we pick up from where he started? This was because of the Triple R program. Now, what were these 3R program? The first one is reconciliation, the second one is reconstruction, and the last one is rehabilitation. So the Triple R program that was led by a Gowon administration was focused on these big 3. So we could not go back to pick up from where Dr. Michael Okpara stopped. Now, under the administration of Michael Okpara, there are several initiatives that he used to boost the economic self-reliance of the Eastern region. The first one is the agricultural revolution. Now, he launched the famous agricultural policy of self-reliance. He did this thing by establishing farm settlements in communities like Igboland and also one. Now, that's within the structure of this agricultural revolution. He also pioneered things or gave policies that aided Igbo or Eastern region farmers. By doing what? He trained and supported young farmers with modern tools, seeds, and also gave them infrastructure for their farm works. Now, while under this banner of agricultural revolution, he also promoted large-scale production of palm oil, rice, cassava, and livestock to do what? To boost food security and also to create exports. Now, in the South region, we have issue with, making the foods that we eat. But under the administration of Dr. Michael Okpara, his policies were targeted at promoting food security and exports. My husband used to tell me that his community in Nsukka, that they used to farm rice, pepper, and some tomatoes, and some of all these vegetables that we use. So Dr. Michael Okpara had the foresight to tap into the natural and natural tendencies of our culture by tapping into farms and trying to promote agriculture within his tenure as the Premier. Now, he also led some industrialization policies. Now, what he did here is that he built numerous industries under the Eastern Nigeria Developmental Corporation, ENDC. And under industrialization, Dr. Michael built numerous industries under the Eastern Nigeria Developmental Corporation, ENDC. Now, examples of some of the industries that he created: the Golden Guinea Brewery that we have in Umaya, the Obudu Cattle Ranch that we have in Cross River, that was, as at that time, it was part of Eastern region. Now, he also opened cement factories, and he also built palm oil processing mills and agro-based industries. You must say that this man was a revolutionary. He was doing all he could to make sure that the Eastern region is economically self-reliant and economically free. That would have even been like assuming his idea of an economically sustained Eastern region was achieved. It is like a brief, or let me say, it's a step further towards the actualization of Biafra before we know what happened, the declaration of Biafra and the Nigerian Civil War. Now, he also ventured into the education and the human capital. So what he did was he expanded access to primary and secondary schools across the region. He expanded access to primary and secondary schools across the region. He also strengthened University of Nigeria, Nsukka, by ensuring that it had strong governmental backing. Now, when we were in Nsukka, I read sociology and anthropology. So we had this moments when we were having these conversations. Now, during the time of our parents, most of them had free education, and most of them had free accommodation, and most of them had free feeding. They were being fed by the government because the government was trying to encourage people to get education or to get educated. So what government was doing at that point was bringing up strategies by, creating these offers, and many families were jumping on it. So some people say that the most educated generation are the generations of our parents, which I still think it's true, because when my father is doing calculations without calculator, he's crunching good numbers, but he will not tell me, oh yeah, I did this thing, and I'm looking for my phone and I'm looking for my calculator. He will just look at me and be like, now wow. So their generation were really, really educated. They took what the government had to offer and they also gave back in return. So Michael Okpara had to ensure that UNN had a strong government backing. Now he also invested in technical and vocational trainings to produce skilled manpower for industries. And currently the Nigerian secondary school curriculum is going through a shift in the sense that they are now trying to add some vocational skills in the curriculum that is going to be taught within the primary and the secondary school sector, which is very important because they have now figured out that, people, and it is not just about getting a formal education, knowing how to read and write and be literate. There are still opportunities with what you can do with your hands. So they are now venturing into vocational trainings and training these children to be able to compete, even when they don't have jobs. They don't see jobs in the formal normal sectors. They can actually use the skills that they have learned to create a system of wealth for themselves. Now, as far back as 1959, Dr. Michael Okpara was a visionary, and he saw what tomorrow would bring, and he tried to do what he invest in technical and vocational trainings. Look at his contribution towards the healthcare and infrastructures that he created within the eastern part of Nigeria. Dr. Michael built and expanded hospitals and rural health care centers. Now, the healthcare centers are the primary unit of, should I say, of a patient care. The health center should have been the first place where you go to speak to a healthcare doctor or a healthcare personnel. Talk to them first before they would refer you to a specialist hospital. But because of how Nigeria is, the primary healthcare centers are very deteriorated. That if you look at all those places, you'll be like, oh, they're going to kill me before they start referring me to a specialist. But Dr. Michael Okpara looked into expanding more of these rural healthcare centers. So it is going to tailor to the needs of, women, children, men who live within those rural areas. Now, he improved road networks to connect to rural areas with the urban centers for trade. He was trying to sort of establish a rail line that would move within the whole eastern part of Nigeria, so that it is going to encourage trade and commerce. But what happened. Dr. Michael also enhanced electricity, and he provided water supply projects in major towns. Now, these whole ideas and these whole philosophies that Dr. Michael was building on, what could we say inspired it? Now, let's look at his economic philosophy, because what guides a leader is based on what he knows, what he, the value that he sees in things, the philosophies that he has about life or about the subject matter. This is why the economic philosophy that Dr. Michael has is that he champions the idea of pragmatic socialism, a people-centered economic policy that emphasizes on self-help, cooperative societies, and community development. I doubt if many of our leaders still have this kind of pragmatic aspects towards economic liberations. If not, well, they would have been doing things different, and their policies would have been tailored to the needs of the people. Let's look at the Nigerian tax bill. The tax bill is not people friendly, in the sense that you cannot be earning below the minimum wage of 60k, and in a year you're making less than 1 point something or so, but so far you have like 800,000 in your account, you'll be taxed. But then you're earning below the minimum wage. You're earning below minimum wage, but still, the Nigerian government still wants to tax you. So you see that their tax just wants to keep people poor. They want everybody to keep going down the poverty line. And they've made this law to be so hard that it is going to be very difficult for people to maneuver, or for people to escape being taxed, except you don't pay money into your bank accounts. We go back to the era or the centuries whereby we bury money because we don't want to put them in the banks. Because if you remember, when the first banking system came, people were skeptical. Nobody wanted to put their monies in the bank. Many people were digging holes and putting their money and burying them. And mothers were tying their mothers at the edge of their wrappers. Everybody was holding their money close to them. My grandmother then had this inner cloth that she would wear inside, but it has like a zipped pocket. It's not even a zipped pocket. I don't know if I can say it's like a shimmy or something. But it has a place where she packs her money, and she would now tie another wrapper on it. So our parents, our grandparents, even our parents, our grandparents were very skeptical of the banking systems, that they never went to banks to put in their money. So if you want to escape the new tax, you don't have to pay tax, you will now have to be keeping money on yourself, which is it poses another security risk, another problem for you. But what I'm trying to say here is that some of the governmental policies that are currently being made are not people friendly, unlike the policies, the strategies that Dr. Michael Okpara brought. His policies were people friendly because he was trying to, look at policies that are going to self-help. Because a community, a region, you need to so have resources, revenues that should sustain you. And when it's sustainable without depending on borrowing or without depending on the federal government and all the other people, if you can be able to create a system of wealth that can sustain you, then things becomes easier for the people. Now, so we could ask, why didn't these brilliant strategies and policies that Dr. Michael was making as at that point, why didn't this good work continue after the Nigerian Civil War? Were they not sustainable? You get, because if you're making policies, a hallmark of a good policy is that the policy is self-sustainable. It should be sustained. So why? What should we say? Why didn't his good work continue? The policies that he had made before, why did everything just this? Why did it get destroyed? Why didn't they continue? First thing here is that the military took over. Remember, his reign or his administration was between 1959 and ended in 1966. 1966, that was when the military coup took place. Now, after that coup, the military took over. I think it ended the civilian rule. The military took over, and Colonel Chukwuma Odumegwu Ojukwu became the military governor of the Eastern region. He became the military governor of the Eastern region, and civilian politics were suspended as at that point. So no civilian had any position of power. So no civilian had any position of power as at that point because we're now under military rule. Now, exile and political suppression. What happens with military rule is that civilian politics would be suppressed. Political activities would be suppressed. Everything goes through a draconian military command. So during that period, Michael Okpara had to flee. So he fled to Ireland and he later went to Europe during the war and after the war. He could not come back. He could not come back. Now, another thing that's happened here is the loss of infrastructure and the resources. We know how the war is. The war destroys. It will pull things that they were throwing missiles, they were throwing bombs. So all the infrastructures, people were running away from their houses. So every structures that were being placed by Dr. Michael Okpara did what? It got destroyed. So the war destroyed most of what Dr. Michael Okpara had built. The war reduced the Eastern region's economic power. Our economic power was destroyed, like it was razed to the floor, to the ground. Now, remember I told you that when the banking system was first introduced, our parents, our grandparents and great-grandparents were skeptical. So some of them did not put their money in the bank. Most of them dug a hole and put their money there. When they went back to go and collect their money, that's like after 4 years, the money has decayed. It was eaten by termites. So, and what they were doing then is that they were now not even gauging from whatever you have in your account. They were just giving us £50 because Gowon said, or Gowon gave the big threes: the rehabilitation, the reconciliation, and the reconstruction, which were all big words because they gave us £50 and said, "Oh yeah, use it to reconstruct, use it to build yourself, use it to pull yourself by the bootstraps." But what could £50 do as at that point? So the southern region's economic power were destroyed. Trade was destroyed. Farmlands, markets, healthcare centers, schools, everything were razed to the floor. So we had to start all over to build gradually to where we are now. Again, the construction was controlled by the federal military government. Like I told you, the big R. Reconstruction falls under their agenda or the program that they created to fix up the eastern part of Nigeria. And of course, brilliant minds like Dr. Michael Okpara, who had great initiative and great policies, were excluded from that conversation. So let's, for instance, they had the mind of trying to rebuild or reconstruct the eastern region back to what it was. They would have consulted people like Dr. Michael, but that was not in the agenda. That was not in the agenda. When they talked about rehabilitation and reconciliation should have fallen under forgetting everything that happened for the last 4 years and try their best to give us more than £50 and to try to create a system, to bring back people that would have tried to fight and, bring back the consciousness of people-friendly policies that would have boosted the idea of being self-sustaining economically. Dr. Michael returned, and when he did, he came back without any political power. And as at that point, he just chose to live out the rest of his life in peace. And he died in 1984. So these were the achievements of Dr. Michael Okpara. Subsequently, I'm going to add to our channel, talking about the achievements of great nationalists, great Igbos, people who had the interest of our ancestors, of our general Igbo consciousness, to boost us economically, academically, politically, freedom fighters and whatnot. I'm going to be doing a series so that the upcoming generation who have interest would also look at this channel and would also use it as a base for their studies and to get historical informations. So if you like my channel and if you like what I just talked about, you can add the contributions and corrections, because I'm not perfect. I'm just reading and talking about it at the same time. So if there are corrections, contributions, I would also want to hear from you. And until next time, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And until